something
Woo!
about what you saw today. Okay. So for me, like all of you, on November 8th, I was up in Milwaukee observing the polls, observing the beautiful American phenomenon of people peacefully voting. And the news started to come in about the polls. I ran home, watched, CNN or whatever at the hotel room, and was watching this kind of blood red seep across the Midwest. It looked like a horror scene. And like a lot of you, I just felt sick to my stomach. Like, how can this be happening? How can this be happening? I felt like I didn't know my country. I felt like I didn't know the people who were living in my country. I felt like I didn't know the people around me. I was just, despondent and depressed for days. Then, like many people, I started going online, venting and complaining and screaming and gnashing my teeth and wringing my hands and talking to a lot of other people. And I noticed that there was a lot of anger out there. But the interesting thing about a lot of the anger that was out there was it was starting to turn very rapidly into action. And people really felt the need to turn all that extra energy, that outrage they had, into something constructive and positive. And all of a sudden there was all of this spontaneous organizing. I've never seen anything like it. It was literally the most grassroots, just organic thing that I've ever seen. And it's my true belief that this is what's going to save us. 8 years ago, when President Obama won, for reasons that we don't understand, much of the country was in despair. The Republicans had lost all three branches of the federal government. Well, the Supreme Court maybe not so much. And they weren't in control of a lot of the state houses. So they started to organize. And that's what became known as the Tea Party movement. It was a grassroots effort, although it was funded by the Koch brothers ultimately, that ended up having a lot of power. And 8 years later, those Republicans who thought they would never be in power again, well, we see where we are, because the pendulum swung, but it didn't swing by itself. It swung because people got active and turned their anger, as misguided and misdirected as it might seem to us, into political action. So I founded Pantsuit Evanston, as part of the, how many here were a member of the Pantsuit Nation or know about Pantsuit Nation? Okay. So what happened with Pantsuit Nation, that some of you may know, some of you may not, is that it made the decision to become a non-political group, which was very controversial. They decided to go in a different direction. But there were already groups that had broken off from the national group, and there was a state, Illinois Pantsuit Nation, and there was a state group, and there were all of these local groups all over the country and all over the state. So we made the decision in conjunction with the state group that we didn't want to be non-political. We wanted to be political. I talked to the other people in my group and said, do you want to go in this non-political direction, or do you want to act? Do you want to engage in political action? And overwhelmingly what I heard, and overwhelmingly what we heard from around the state, was that we wanted to act. We wanted to get involved at the most political level possible. So, can you
He's on the phone.
Oh, okay. I'm just being
Sorry, I know.
distracted.
The bus driver's on the phone.
No, okay. Bus driver's on the phone. That's why I'm like a little spacey. Okay. Anyway, so we get a lot. So we are now called Action for a Better Tomorrow. We had to change our name to dissociate from Pantsuit since they had decided to be non-political. We have a state organization. We have now at least 20 chapters across the state who have signed on to our charter in all different parts of the state, downstate, the more rural parts, because we always have to remember in Illinois that we're a big blue blot, but we're surrounded by a lot of red, and actually a lot of that red became redder, and more parts became red in 2012 and 2016 than were in 2012 and 2008. One thing that I want to say is a lot of people in Evanston get a little frustrated because they feel that they live in this deep blue bubble, and so they have a limited we going to do? You know, we're represented by Democrats. We have Jan Schakowsky, who's incredibly progressive. You know, we've got Dick Durbin, and now, right, exactly. So what can we do here? There's a lot that we can do. First of all, Governor Rauner is trying to turn us into Wisconsin and Michigan. He's trying to destroy unions and destroy the democratic organizing apparatus there, starving social services, all the kinds of things that ended up turning Michigan and Wisconsin red are things that Governor Rauner is trying to do here. We have a lot of Republican representatives here in Illinois. We have Democratic representatives that act like Republican representatives. We have the ability, even for our progressive representatives, to put pressure on them. Some of you may know that Congresswoman Schakowsky, changed her decision to attend the inauguration because of constituent feedback. So our voices do have an impact. We've seen that over and over again just in the past couple months, the impact of calls, the impact of taking action. And more than that, as Leslie was pointing out, here in Evanston, we've got plenty of problems. When we were upset that Trump won, it's not just because we disagreed with his ideas, it's because we were upset that his agenda was going to have real world impact on real people. But we have to address that on the ground, and we have the ability to address that on the ground. We have problems with inequality in Evanston. We have problems with racism. We have problems with police misconduct. We have problems with all of the things that we're upset about the Trump administration taking action. And we can take action on all of these things right here in our community, and we can do a lot by working with all of the organizations and all of the people that are working on these issues already. So there's a lot that we can do. I can tell you, for me personally, I can go on and on, but for me personally, this is what has been getting me through the past 2 months. This is what's been keeping me out of despair, because I've seen people sliding into despair because they feel hopeless. This is not hopeless. As people said here, there are more of us who believe in an inclusive, positive, more equal society than there are people who don't. We are strong, and we are many, and we can act just like we're acting here. And so for those of you who are interested, I hope you do look up Action for a Better Tomorrow. If you look up Pantsuit Evanston, you'll probably find it too. Or any other group, just get involved, please. I promise it will make you feel better about all of this. And thank you very much for listening. And thank you, Nina, for putting this together.
Yeah.